You have joined the Board of Selectmen, December 19th, 2024, open meeting. Actually, this may be bittersweet. This is our last meeting of 2024, and we will be conducting this in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts open meeting law that allows us to conduct this meeting utilizing the Zoom video conferencing technology. As has been the case for the last few meetings, we are utilizing a webinar format. And that means if you wish to say something in the public comment, you need to press the raise your hand and we will allow you to make a comment. Otherwise, you will just be listening to and watching the meeting. The first order of business will be a roll call vote. So I am Robin Hunter, Chair of the Board of Selectmen, and I am present.
Dave Haviland, and I am present.
So we will start with citizens' comments. Again, if we have any citizens' comments, please utilize the raise your hand feature, which you can find at the bottom of your screen.
Not seeing any raised hands.
Yeah, me neither, but I always worry about whether or not I'm technologically proficient enough to notice that. So the next item of business is a public hearing regarding the poll petition from Verizon New England Inc. and Anstar Electric Company doing business as Eversource Energy. It's plan 4AOUB2B on Farm Street.
And I just, for the record, I'm happy to do it, but we should just read the public hearing notice. Would you like me to do that?
Sure.
Okay. So in accordance with the requirements of Mass General Law, Chapter 166, Section 22, you're hereby notified that the Dover Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing via remote participation on the Zoom platform on Thursday, December 19th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. on the Verizon New England Incorporated and Enstar Electric Company doing business as Eversource Energy petition to locate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary anchors, guys, and other such sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by the petitioners, along and across the following public way or ways. Farm Street, relocate one JO pole P52 located on the northerly side of Farm Street, approximately 20 feet northeasterly from its existing location. The petition is necessary to accommodate 49 Farm Street. Also, for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as such of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes.
So should you wish to view the public hearing details, do we need to read that?
That's mostly just for the paper, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm not sure, it looks like there's a hand up. I don't know if Alex is here to represent Verizon or Eversource.
Yes, can you hear me?
Alex has his hand raised. So
Yes, are you able to hear me?
we are.
Yes, sorry about that. It's saying that chat was disabled, so I can't actually chat to you. So I'm here representing Verizon on this matter. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself for the records. First name is Alexander, last name Marrero, Marrero. Resident 17 Cross Street, Marlborough, Massachusetts. I'm an employee of Pike, PIKE, Telecom and Renewables LLC, an authorized contractor for Verizon of New England Incorporated. I've been asked by Verizon to speak on their behalf about the petition in front of you this evening. As you mentioned, Verizon is hereby petitioning to relocate one existing pole, number 52, located in the public way of Farm Street, and to be relocated approximately 12 feet in a northeasterly direction from a point in front of 49 Farm Street to a point in front of 45 Farm Street. The existing pole to be relocated is a 45-foot Class 2. The new pole will be also a 45-foot Class 2. Verizon is hereby making this petition due to pending construction on 49 Farm Street. According to my records, they will be expanding the driveway to 49 Farm Street, and the existing pole is in the way of the new driveway. I can also answer any questions that you might have about the petition in front of you this evening.
I do not. It's straightforward.
I don't either.
Just for the record, abutters were notified. And I don't know if maybe Alex can correct me. I think this is true. I always wonder what JO polls are. And I understand it means just joint ownership, in case anyone was wondering.
Yes,
Oh,
that
thank you.
I had wondered for years, and someone finally told me. So.
I
yes,
just
that,
thought it was a type of a pole, and I was
Right.
too embarrassed to ask.
no, that is correct. JO means joint ownership. It means that we own 50% of the pole, and the electric company, in this case, Eversource, owns 50% of the pole.
Great.
Okay, so there being no further questions, I move to approve the relocation of one JO pole P52 located on the northerly side of Farm Street, approximately 20 feet northeasterly from the existing location.
Second,
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need to close the public hearing or just automatically closes?
I think by voting you kind of do, but if you'd like to just maybe, just for the record, I guess, make another motion to just close it.
Okay, so I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item of business, this is item 1.2. We have a guest this evening. We have Maggie Sharon here with us, and we are very fortunate to have Maggie as Dover's representative to the Minuteman Regional School Committee, and she is going to give us an update on the activities at Minuteman. Welcome, Maggie. Nice to see you.
Hi, good evening, Robin. Hi, Michael, and welcome to the Select Board, Dave. It's nice to hear. I've presented with you and we've worked together for many years on the regional school board, and I was very fortunate as my term was wrapping up this spring to be asked by our esteemed colleague Ford Spalding, who has represented Dover to the Minuteman District for many years, and as we know, moved to Westwood to take on that role, and was able to start doing that last spring. And so it was a nice transition. I'd also like to take a moment to welcome our new superintendent. When I joined the school committee, they were in the middle of a pretty substantive superintendent search. Minuteman, as you may be aware, had been in a transition period with a veteran administrator serving as an interim superintendent. But we were able to conduct a very successful superintendent search, and that's oftentimes difficult, as we all know. And
Very competitive.
Very challenging. And I am very delighted to introduce you to Superintendent Heidi Driscoll, who's with me tonight. She's going to actually do the presentation on our behalf. She comes to us from the I'm going to get it right, Situate Public Schools, where she was the assistant superintendent for a number of years. And then before that, had extensive experience in vocational and technical schools in a couple of school districts in Massachusetts. So we've had a wonderful start to the year with Heidi. The whole school committee, which comprises 9 of our member towns, is absolutely thus far delighted being able to work with Heidi, and we are really looking forward to what's to come for Minuteman. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Heidi, and she has some slides that she would like to share with you, and then we'll certainly open the floor for any questions that you have.
And looking at the smile on Heidi's face, I would say she is very excited about being the new superintendent of Minuteman. So
Yes,
welcome to the
welcome.
meeting, Heidi.
Thank you, Chair Hunter. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you for having me. Selectman Haviland, I really appreciate you. And Maggie, thank you for the introduction. Is it on share so I'm allowed to share my slides? Okay, great. So Maggie asked me to put together kind of an overview of Minuteman to really reintroduce the school district to all of you and to share some things that highlight what's going on. Hello, Michael. I don't think we've met formally, but I think you will be receiving an invitation to come visit us very soon if you didn't today from Nikki. All right, here are my slides, and I'm going to shut off my video in hopes that we can just share my screen with less hiccups. Okay, can you see my first slide okay?
We
Yes.
can. This is perfect. You've done this before.
I have done this before. So the first thing I wanted to introduce to you is Minuteman. Even though we are a public school district, we're one of what's called a wall-to-wall vocational school district. So that means we do have different programming. Sometimes people don't actually understand we do have a full complement of core academics, including everything in Mass Core plus dual enrollment, advanced placement, all of the things that you would typically have academically at a comprehensive school district. What is different about a wall-to-wall vocational education is that instead of the extensive amounts of electives that you would have to complement your liberal arts education, a Chapter 74 school has at least 50% of the educational experience in grades 9 through 12 as Chapter 74 programming. So that means you might not get 4 years of art. You might not get 4 years of music, but you do get 50% of your time in what we would typically think of stereotypically really as 50% of the time you are physically in plumbing, you are physically in carpentry, you are physically doing those trades, and by the time you are a sophomore, you literally will be put into our communities doing live work throughout our region. And if I'm using any words you don't know, or I'm talking about things you haven't heard of before, please just stop me and interrupt me, and I'd love to answer a question or clarify anything that I've shared that isn't clear. So because most of us think of plumbing and carpentry and those types of things as vocational education, I thought today we would highlight our agriculture, environmental, and life sciences pathway. So that consists of biotechnology, environmental science and technology, horticulture and plant science, and veterinary science. Now we do have 19 majors, so that means 19 different trades, if you will, but many of these, even though we use the word trade, don't look like a traditional trade. It's high-tech STEM and what we need for jobs in Massachusetts. So these are a few pictures of what those programs look like. This is not your traditional, I'm taking one period of shop. So you'll see some of our horticulture students. You see the middle picture, that is our beekeeping. In the bottom right, we have some of our biotech students, and there's some soil testing going on at the top. So that's just a little glance of things that we do on a daily basis throughout our programs, because we have 5 full days straight, all day long, of skills-based vocational training. So some active training in our STEM careers. I'm going to give you now a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the specific things that happen, again, beyond old school voc tech. Well, you built a table or you brought home your thing that you made. This is not that. So here's a student from Arlington. He's dissolving a solution to profuse an artificial organ in biotechnology. So what that means is he is preparing an artificial organ so that it will flow fluids through it. That's what we do in school. Here's an actual picture. I've seen this a couple times, still makes me a little squeamish, but here it is. They work with pig hearts and pre-kidneys as they're pre-prepared for industry. So that means before they're able to be used, you have to have the blood and the fluids and the other things that I am not an expert in myself, that our kids and our vocational teachers are. Our students, they have huge opportunities to impact our planet in a very real way, more than just writing a research paper. So here are some of our students who are involved with managing Minuteman Forest Plot with the Harvard Forestry Museum database. They literally track the information for the museum database. I cannot say this could not be more real world experience. They map, they interpret, they mitigate climate change. They use high-tech equipment that is used in industry. And a huge part of this is working to ensure drinking water and wastewater are not together. So there's a whole certification in order to make those things happen for our small towns, for our state, for the world. So not just in this program, but in most of our programs, our students come out with actual certifications that they need, not only to be employable right out of high school, but also to have a huge leg up and an advantage when they are in four-year college programs. Again, the training in the field, these are some of our students who are studying and examining coastal seawater and ecosystems at Salem Beach. This is a student, this is not physically in our school, but as I mentioned, students as young as sophomore year, they have off-site clinical practices. This is a student checking an ear cytology for an ear infection during her off-site clinical experience. So that means students go to all sorts of different, maybe a hospital or a veterinary clinic or wherever is appropriate for your particular program. To learn from people in the industry under supervision of their teachers. Our newest program, because we do add programs as industry demands and our region demands, is veterinary science. Right now, this year is our first graduating class in veterinary science, so that means it's its fourth year through. Our students do get certified as veterinary assistants, and literally today, the notice went out that we are our pet daycare. It's not open every day of the week, but we have a pet daycare that is opened, very similar to our preschool, but with puppies instead of preschoolers, two separate programs. And they are thrilled to be having an active business happening while they're in their studies. And if you see where they are, it looks like they're at a house. They are actually separated from our main building. We have a few extra properties, and they have an entire separate location on our property away from the main building with a little animal park and everything that they need to have their fully operating veterinary science program. So another thing that we do, by the time students are halfway through their junior year, if they have passed particular certifications and their vocational teacher certifies them to be eligible, students participate in cooperative education. And what that is different from a clinical placement or an internship, because you are actually paid to be an employee. And you do this instead of attending class for your 5 days a week for your vocational program, You are now supervised by a partner employer who has hired you, who reports back to the vocational teacher. They, of course, have to do a senior project and has to be connected to what we do. And sometimes people don't realize where we have our high school students right now employed, getting paid, pushing forward major industries in Massachusetts. We have high school students and have had high school students just from these 4 programs: biotechnology, environmental, horticulture, and veterinary, at Boston Children's Hospital, at MIT, at Harvard, at UMass Medical. I already mentioned the Minuteman National Park, the Energy for Common Good, Posh Pup in Action, Arlington Animal Clinic, Callahan Veterinary Group, and those are just to mention a few. And currently, right now, we have 176 seniors, and 62 of them, as of this month, are already out in the field. And just because you have a co-op job does not mean that is where you are going. Many of them are going on to 4-year colleges. But what happens is, if you have had that real world hands-on experience in, let's say, working with drinking water, and you then go to become an environmental engineer, you are going to have substantial advantages over your peers who are going from textbook to practice after college. So that means we have about 35% of our senior class who are out right now. This is just a picture, in addition to our regular programs. Our students are a part of Skills USA and FFA, which was formerly Future Farmers of America, but it is beyond farmers. It's for agriculture, the programs I just mentioned, and beyond. It's the largest student organization where industry goes to recognize the top trained students. So that picture in the middle, I don't know if you can see it okay, but the amount of people at that national conference, those are kids who compete to showcase their skills. Those are 3 of our students who welcomed the Commissioner of Education and the Secretary of Education at an event we had earlier this year. So I just wanted to show off that picture, both of those, because we love them. And the next slide is about Minuteman itself. Who do we serve? So our in-district enrollment right now, if you look at this chart, this is the total amount of students that we have in grades 9 through 12 from each of our 9 sending districts. We currently have 5 students from Dover in grades 9 through 12. We have 1 in the class of 2028. We have 1 in the class of 2027, 1 in the class of 2026, and 2 in the class of 2025. Many times we find that there are usually substantially more than 1 student who would benefit from this type of education, but maybe they don't have access to the information like I'm providing you today. We do visit the middle school, and there's an admissions advisor who comes in and tells a story and explains what we do, but it's different. It's different when an adult tells you a story of what we do than when you see it in action. So we have opportunities to expand access, especially our showcase day. So our showcase day is a field trip that 100% of your 8th graders are invited to. 100% of them. You had 86 middle schoolers, and 6 came on the field trip to our showcase day. We wish it was 86. We will take every single middle schooler and show them what we do. For every single person, we'd love to have them. The open house is something that isn't a field trip during the day. It's something that a parent or guardian would have to bring their child to, and anybody can come at, any grade level. They're welcome to come to our open house. Typically, the people who come to open house are the kids who had a great experience at the showcase day and drag their parents. It is difficult to drag your parents to open house. If your parents don't know, you can go to a prestigious 4-year college from Minuteman. Today, I actually congratulate, I guess I won't say his name, but I got to congratulate a student today who was accepted to Cornell. And that doesn't make sense to people. What do you mean they went to a vocation? That is real today. I don't know how else to explain that. And in Dover, even though we have a small number of students, right now there's a Dover Highway Department project that's happening with your town and our students, because we do outside work for our partner towns. The work is to replace a storage building, the wind and debris shield, the siding in the roof, and that I don't think that does it justice how high that is. And those students on the left, they are not sitting on the ground; they are sitting at the top of that. The progress so far is that approximately 25% of the roof has been installed. They constructed the platform at the rear portion of the roof. They did the ice and water shield, and there's still work to go. And I think that is all I have. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time. Let me stop my share and turn my camera back on. There we go. But I would be happy to answer any of your questions, or if there's anything you'd like more information about, I'd love to share. And I know you can't see her right now, but our business manager is here, Nikki Andrade. Nikki, thank you for coming, because I really wasn't sure what type of information you'd like to have.
So Heidi, I really appreciate the update. I fortunately was part of Dover when you were trying to build the new school, and I have been fortunate enough to see the old and the new, also to see the progression in the type of programs that Minuteman does offer. And I completely agree with you. It's just a different type of education. And I think many kids in Dover might benefit from that type of more hands-on, expanded education. And I completely agree with you. People do not realize what the high percentage of students at Minuteman that go on to excellent colleges. And it's just a different type of learning. And for me, I had no idea about the cooperative education. So I learned something new today. But Mike, I would strongly suggest that you go and visit the school. It's an amazing place and just a different type of education. My husband, who's a mechanical engineer, actually said to me, I think I would have benefited had I known that these type of schools, because he's just more of a hands-on learner. And he said he would have really benefited from the type of education that's offered at Minuteman. So I have a question, because there was always a debate when we were building the new school. Do you have a waiting list?
Well, we don't, as of right now, the applications are still open.
Okay.
Last year, we would have had a little bit, but we squeezed everybody in.
Okay. Because that was the big debate, how big of a school to build. And because we all anticipated that there would be more interest in a newer facility that offered newer state-of-the-art type programs. And that seems to have come to fruition.
It really has, Robin. So years ago, our building was actually filled with about half of students who were not from our sending district.
Right.
So at this point, so that's an interesting question. So do we have a wait list? Yes, a substantial wait list, but not from our sending districts as of last year. Is it possible? Yes, but we do have the capacity to make sure that we have wiggle room to expand? We do. Most schools across the state, CTE schools, do have extensive wait lists. We did have, I think at open house, we had 78 students who, signed up and gave us their information, who are not from our 9 sending districts. So that there is a huge demand. And I would like to point out also, sometimes people feel like this high tech or this going to a 4-year college trend is very new. I think what's new is talking about it. So
Right.
I am not a spring chicken, and I have a younger brother who is 2 years younger than me. And my younger brother went to New Bedford Voc almost 30 years ago. He was an architectural drafting, which isn't even a thing now because, he was an architectural drafting major. And he went on full ride to UMass Amherst. And my brother is literally a rocket scientist. And that's the old vocation. So even back then, it's just an undercover thing. And he had a huge advantage in college having all that hands-on experience.
Right.
And I'm a little jealous because he's the show off because he can say that and I can't.
I think the other thing, Robin, that looking at those enrollment numbers, I think that a couple of things. Being part of the Minuteman community since last spring, and especially coming off a long tenure being part of the Dover-Sherburne Regional community, I really see, aside from the challenges that it is to run a regional school district, which are some the same and some different, Minuteman to DS, I think one of the challenges that we have as the Dover members, really the biggest challenge for us is marketing and sort of PR of Minuteman as an option compared to DS. And it's wonderful news when Dover-Sherburne is the #1 high school in the state. That's great. But it's also, I think that for us, it's really a challenge because a couple things. When kids are in 8th grade at DS, the Dover students are invited to participate in the Minuteman school, and the Sherburne students are invited to participate at Tri-County. And
Right.
those are very different educational experiences, and no shade on Tri-County. But it's a little challenging when, the students are kind of listening to both presentations to not be like, no, you don't understand. Minuteman is the absolute best thing that we have going on in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in terms of 21st century education. The second thing is that you might have seen in the news, it's a big controversy right now. It's all over the Boston Globe around whether or not CTE education in the Commonwealth is equitable, whether or not we serve students on IEPs, and whether or not the school should be moving to a lottery system. The CTE schools and Minuteman especially, we take the position that we think that would be very detrimental to the students. And in fact, our data shows that our school serves more students statistically that are on IEPs than are at our sending districts. So Heidi probably can pull the numbers off her head, but we do, I think, we do more, and we do an excellent job serving students who are different learners. And I know from having spent all the years at the regional school committee and speaking to a lot of parents, there is a not insignificant number of families in our community who say to me, DS is a great school for those kids that are great students. And it's a great school for kids who have a lot of but those kids in the middle, like my kid doesn't like, AP history. My kid doesn't love, learning all about the novels and learning Latin. That's just not interesting to them. And I get that. That was one of my kids. And I wish and I want, it's one of my goals in this job, is to really break that stigma that prevents them from those families from taking a really serious look at Minuteman as an educational option, because I've, been there regularly now. And I cannot tell you, as a school committee person and as a retired educator, when you go in that school, every single child is motivated, is on point, there's no kids with their headphones zoned out.
Oh, don't jinx us. Don't.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying it is like a feeling that you get, and it's such a huge resource that we provide our community in Dover. And I just really want to maximize the kids who know that that's an option so that they can enjoy it. So that's where I stand anyway.
Right. So for me,
Thank you,
Maggie, I was encouraged by the fact that there are 5 students at Minuteman. Because when when they were building the school, we had 1 or 0.
Yeah.
So whatever we're doing well, and we are getting the word out, and I'm sure there are many more that could benefit from it. So I was very encouraged by
Good to know.
Right.
I think that the part of it that's a hard sell is, we live in a small town, the kids want to be
Right.
with their friends,
Right.
Washington isn't super close. But when I look at kids that say their families say, well, we're going with a private school because my kid's just not engaged. I desperately want to say, have you looked at Minuteman? Because honest to
Right.
goodness, like, this is not like some stereotypical like school that they send kids to who can't behave. Because let me say, like, there is heavy equipment there, and children touch welding torches and just like move around a classroom. So it's just, I mean, it's so exciting. You can tell I'm very jazzed up.
You're
you know
as,
what's something,
as
may I add
passionate as
something?
Heidi.
Yeah.
So there's something that I didn't think to add to my presentation, but it is crucial to know. We have something called exploratory, and that's the first experience that freshmen have. A part of choosing a vocational education, and you're right, many kids who are not satisfied with their school experience say, I'm going to choose something else. They should try Minuteman. But the interest in something else, kids do not come to Minuteman because they want to be an English major. Could you go to a vocational school and be an English major? Yes, but they usually come to us because they want to do something. I want to be a blank. Students actually go through an exploratory program where they experience all 19 shops. They go through every single one of them. They do career, they actually experience that. So you're not just committing 50% of your educational time to whatever it is for 4 years. You don't actually get placed into your permanent program until about halfway through January. So if you're looking to have your child experience and explore, that is quite literally what you do. The other thing is we do accept sophomores. So if a couple students feel like, oh, this wasn't a good match, anyone can apply at any time. We did, I want to say, accepted, maybe we had 7 or 15 open seats in the sophomore class. We filled every single one of them at the beginning of this year. So that's just something else to know. Sorry, I get so excited.
Yeah. So Dave, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, one, I wanted to thank Heidi for the presentation. And I was going to give you all the credit for the infectious enthusiasm, and then Maggie started speaking. So between the two of you, it's wonderful. And I found the programming eye-opening and very educational. And there's got to be a way that when you're in the middle school, pulling the Dover kids aside, saying this applies to you, and if half of what you just conveyed to us is conveyed to them, I think our enrollment might continue to be on an upward trend. So I appreciate everything you're doing. Congratulations to the search committee of Minuteman. You done good there.
I will also add, Dave, in the way of marketing, stealth marketing, if you will. I was able to secure myself a little spot on the middle school council as the community representative. And I am starting to use that opportunity to get in Principal Keegan's ear. And she and I have had some initial conversations. She has very really warm feelings. She's, as you may know, a Needham resident, and Needham sends a lot of families to Minuteman. And so we're going to work together to do maybe a little bit more, what you said, really, really making it friendly to our Dover families so that they understand what a gem we've got going on up there.
Another thing that might help locally in Dover is really not advertising, that's the wrong word, but promoting the fact of the shed. I mean, from our standpoint, when Kevin brought this to us, we were over the moon. We thought that it's great, but it needs to be publicized. That's the word I'm missing. And
I've been posting things on that Dover Mass Facebook page.
well, you got Chris
That
in the
helps.
newsletter, just to let you know that we do have a town newsletter. And
Yeah,
if
I
you
think
want
it's in. I think it got in there. I think it did
Okay.
before it sent it in. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, again, I just want to thank you because this opened my eyes quite a bit, and I'm sure your efforts will open others as well. So,
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you both very much. And this was another opportunity to promote the programs. Happy holidays to you both.
Appreciate it. Have a
Thanks.
wonderful holiday, all of you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
So the next item on our agenda is somewhat bittersweet. For many, many years, Denise Garlick has worked very hard on behalf of the town of Dover. And, personally, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to her for everything that she has done to support our community over the years. She has very big shoes to fill. She is so genuine in everything that she has done for us. Being the smallest town in her district, she still did everything she could to help us in every way possible. And for that, I would really like to thank her. I see that she's a panelist. So are you on here, Denise? I see her as an attendee, so I don't know if we.
Yeah, it says Denise's iPhone. I don't know what Denise that is.
And Chris will move her over. Here she comes.
I am here, Robin.
Thank you, Denise. And first,
you.
I just want to apologize when I was traveling and unable to attend the celebration that was held for you. But I understand, I know that Michael was there, and we did have a little gift for you in the hope that you would always remember us, your friends in Dover. And we are very grateful for you to attend this meeting so we could give you something in return. But before we do that, I don't know, Dave is a newbie, but I know he feels as strongly as I just can't express enough our gratitude for everything you've done. I understand why you wanted to retire. It's a lot of work, but we really will miss you. And Josh has some big shoes to fill.
So,
Yes.
Robin, your words are so warm and so wonderful. And I certainly missed you on Monday night, but your friendship and your support has been so consistent for 14 years. For 14 years.
It's
I'm
been that
deeply
long?
grateful. It's been that long. 15 years, actually, I must say. 15 years when we count the campaign.
Well,
So-
Denise, thank you does not begin to cover it. All the efforts and what I liked or appreciated the most was your accessibility to the citizens of Dover. And as one, I went to your office hours a few times and always felt heard. And that's a very valuable thing. And I give you my personal thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think not only that, but Denise has taught us how to be better stewards of the citizens of Dover. Many of the things, your office hours, we've just started our own as well because it's a way to reach out to the community. So you really have been a great role model for us.
Thank you. And I know that when you first met me, certainly you knew that I love Needham. I know that I fell in love with Dover and with Medfield as well. And I just really want to thank you all. The work that Dover does and the partnerships that I had from visiting our kids in the Chickering School and just 2 weeks ago at the Dover Middle School, engaging with the students. The Council on Aging, has held a special place in my heart all these years. Park and Rec is extraordinary, and I try to share the information of their programs. And I keep saying that I want to keep this a secret, but my favorite library is the Dover Library. And one of my greatest joys was bringing my grandchildren to the Dover Library. It's just great. So for everything from Memorial Day to the Dover Days to the many Eagle Scout ceremonies, I want to say thank you. I have loved this relationship, and I am very pleased that you felt that it was beneficial to the town of Dover. You deserve that. You deserve.
And tonight we're going to turn the tables
Ah.
because it's usually you doing a proclamation for us. And so we wanted to do a proclamation for you, which I am going to read. So this is a proclamation, whereas the town of Dover respectfully recognizes the significant contributions of State Representative Denise Garlick to both the community and the 13th Norfolk District. Her dedicated service has positively impacted our town and its residents. And whereas Denise Garlick has demonstrated 13 years of exemplary service, significantly contributing to the welfare of the town and its residents in Dover. And whereas Denise has honorably represented the residents of Dover by prioritizing constituent services, addressing budgetary concerns, and advocating for legislation aimed at enhancing the town and fostering a positive impact on our community. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen, hereby present this proclamation to Denise Garlick for her dedication and devoted service as a state representative for Dover and the 13th Norfolk District. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors and hereby extend our deepest gratitude to you for your friendship and contributions to our community. In witness whereof, we hereto affix our hands in the seal of Dover to be affixed on this 19th day of December 2024.
How lovely. I am deeply moved. It means a great deal to me, a great deal to me. And I will share with you, people keep asking me what's next. And I keep saying that I am retiring. And there's all these wonderful friendships I've made that I'd love to deepen, and all these avenues of learning that I'd love to explore. But right now, I'm thinking I might go to Minuteman.
You and me both. I had the same thought. So you know what? But I need to move to approve the proclamation and read it to make it official.
And I will second it to make it official.
Okay, all in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
I had to do that before I forgot because otherwise Mike would chastise me.
Not at all. What a lovely, lovely moment to share with you all. Thank you for this. Thank you.
And don't be a stranger. We'll still be here.
I'll be at the library if you need me.
Okay. Thank you so much and best of luck.
We'll see you there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a great holiday, Denise.
You
Right.
too, to everyone.
Enjoy your time off. You deserve it.
Thanks.
Bye.
Good night.
Right. Good night.
Okay, so the next item of business that we have is the Sustainability Committee, a discussion and vote.
So I don't want to skip. We had the Tree City USA signs first. So it's a little confusing. This is what happens when Mona's not here. I messed up. We're gonna call it 3A and 3B because we have two item threes. That's why it was confusing.
Oh,
So we're on
wow.
3B.
Okay. You guys just want to make sure I'm awake, right?
That's it. It was a test. I did it on purpose.
Right. I knew that. I was like, I did 1.3. And then I was thinking B was the proclamation. So is Val Lynn here this?
I don't see her.
I don't see her.
She's under Dover Planning, it looks like. Just raise your hand.
Okay. So we're going to bring her over?
Yep. There you go.
And Chris, she'll share her screen too.
Hi, Val. Apologies for being so confused.
Oh,
and
no worries
skipping
at all.
over
I'm
you.
going to rename myself here so that way. There we go. Thank you. Well, I feel really lucky to be here tonight. I mean, what a great agenda. The Minuteman School was amazing, and I love Denise Garlick. She's
Right.
fantastic. She's done so much and has been so productive in her role. So it's great. Um, so yes, I am here tonight to, on behalf of the Tree Preservation Committee, to ask for your approval to have 2 signs installed along the roadways in Dover in the right of way. And I do have a short presentation if you'd like me. I think it'd be a little easier because there's some maps on there so you can kind of understand where we're thinking about putting those. So Mike, I don't know if I should share my screen or if you want to do that or.
Yeah, if you want to try, you should have permission now.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, excellent. Let me, 1 second. I'll see if I can put this in some sort of a presentation mode. There we go. Okay. So, so just for a little bit of background, so our committee started, our tree preservation committee started about 2 years ago in November of 2022. And last year was our first year applying for Tree City USA designation for our Dover community, and we were awarded that in the spring of 2024. And
is that a record?
Is a record? Yeah. It was our first, and they did a really nice job. The state was really supportive in helping us get our application in and making sure that we had all the pieces that we need. So it was really great to work with them on this application. And so then they provided the Arbor Foundation. Arbor Day Foundation provided us with some congratulatory materials, which included 2 street signs, 1 flag, and 1 wall plaque. And so the street signs are what we would like to have installed along the roadway. And I have been working with Kevin McCabe from the DPW to talk about where the best locations would be for those. And so here's an example of what the street sign looks like. On the left-hand side is very similar to the one that was sent to us. It is 24 inches wide and 30 inches tall. And on the right-hand side is a picture of kind of what it looks like. I believe this is near Hanscom, Massachusetts. And so one of the nice things about the sign is it provides a white space on the bottom for you to be able to post how many years your community has been designated as a Tree City USA community. So, and Hanscom clearly has been doing this for quite a while. They've been a member of this designation for a while. So that's kind of one of the nice features about these signs. And as I've driven around in Wellesley and Needham and Medfield and many of the other surrounding communities, they all have Tree City USA signs posted promoting their designation.
You see them when you drive around.
Right.
What's that?
You see them when you drive around.
Yes, you do. Yeah, and it's nice. It's great to see them. And so I've spoken with Kevin to get some ideas for where he would be comfortable with us posting them. And what we've talked about, we're presenting 3 locations, and certainly up for debate if none of these 3 seem appropriate. But this first one is near 12 Center Street, the corridor. So just to kind of orient you with this map, at the top of the map would be the Center Street Bridge going into Needham near the Walker School. So at the very top, you can't quite see it, but it just got cut off. And then you'll see Claybrook kind of onto the veering off to the left. The red area on Center Street is the area that Kevin and I have talked about having the sign posted. So it would be posted on the side of the street as if you were entering Dover. So anyone entering Dover, it would be on the right-hand side. So that's one of the locations. A second location, this one is on Center Street on the other end of Dover. So if you are entering Dover from Medfield, this is near Hunt Drive and the Norfolk Hunt Club. And so if you are driving from Medfield into Dover Center, on the right-hand side where the red line is the area where Kevin thought would be appropriate, and our committee thought would be an appropriate location for anyone entering our community from the Medfield side. And then our third location, this area is if you were coming from Westwood or from Chestnut Street in Needham. So you'll see on the right-hand side, to kind of orient you, is the Westfield Street going toward Westwood. And then the intersection, if you were to continue into the top right corner, it would take you into Needham. So if you were coming from that top right corner from Needham into Dover on Dedham Street, this would be, I believe it's around number 340, if you were looking like for an address in that area. So it's just after you come around the corner from Needham into Dover, and it would be where the red line is in the middle of the map. So those are the three locations that we thought made the most sense. They're kind of high traffic areas, so the signs would have a lot of visibility, and you'd see them fairly quickly coming into the community from our surrounding communities. And so those are kind of the three locations. Our sign bylaw states that if we want to place any signs within the right-of-way on the roadways of Dover, that the Board of Selectmen need to approve it. And so if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those questions at this time.
So the agenda said that we have 2 signs, yet we
Yes.
have 3 locations. So do you have a
Yeah.
recommendation?
So I think we are totally fine with all 3 of them. We were kind of thinking maybe more on Center Street, just because this area on Dedham, it is pretty heavily wooded, and it doesn't have as wide of and clear of a right of way as what the Center Street locations do. They tend to have less shrubs and trees, and they're a little clearer. So I'm kind of leaning toward the 2 center locations, but
Okay.
we would be happy with any of the 3.
So I certainly am comfortable with the Center Street locations. I think it's great to promote this designation. As Dave said, you drive around and many other towns have it already. So I would have no issues voting to approve those 2 locations.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Dave?
all 3.
Okay.
Right.
So the one on Center Street coming in from the Center Street Bridge is not right near the border. And so I was going to ask about it. And then I thought, well, what difference does it make if you go another couple hundred yards and
Right.
see it then? And also, you're not going to put it like right in front of someone's house. You're going to put
No.
it, there's woods and no one's going to
Definitely.
mind.
Yes.
That
yes.
would be my own, and it's obviously you're doing it. I mean, so
Yeah, so but that's a great question, Dave, because we had spoken with Kevin about placing it closer to the Center Street bridge that goes over the Charles River. I think because of that triangular area, he wasn't strongly in favor of that location, and suggested that we move it a little bit farther away from that intersection area. So maybe it has to do with plowing. I'm sorry that I can't answer as to
it
why,
doesn't
but
matter. It's all 3 are absolutely fine, as long as we're not dropping them on someone's property that they would object.
yes, for sure. One other piece of information. Kevin had also mentioned that he is looking at a little bit of a smaller sign, one that is 18 inches by 24 inches. He and I haven't decided that that's the route that we're going to go. The ones that we were already provided with are the 24 by 30. So what I can tell you is the sign will be no larger than 24 by 30. And it potentially, depending on if Kevin is strongly, wanting to go in this direction, it could be smaller. So it could be an 18 by 24 size.
So do you want maximum flexibility? Because what we could do is move to approve the installation of the signs at the three locations and leave it at the discretion of the tree preservation committee to make a determination of the best locations and the best size for the signs.
Sure, that's great. And we'll work with Kevin to
Right.
get that
So
final.
Dave, does that work for you?
It does. A question on the size of the signs, now that you brought it up. What are the other surrounding towns? So, and you don't need to answer this now, but if Needham is using the smaller ones, I think we ought to use the smaller ones too. But I have no idea how big their signs are. I just drive by, notice them, smile, and keep driving.
Right.
So,
It looks to me they are the larger ones, the standard signs that but I haven't actually measured them. But the appearance of them looks to me like they are the 24 by 30 size.
Right. So for me, why should you spend the money to have another sign when we've already been given signs and
Yeah.
these are so I don't understand what the need would be to have a smaller sign.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I feel that these are kind of their standard signs. They leave the space on the bottom so that we can add the sticker talking about how many years we've been designated as the community. So I tend to prefer the standard size, the 24 by 30 that they provided us with. But if Kevin, like I said, if Kevin feels that there's any type of visibility issue in his opinion, then I would defer to his
Right. So
preference.
unless there's some kind of a safety issue, I see no
Right.
reason not to go with the signs that we were given.
Yeah, I agree.
I like your idea, Robin. Let's give it maximum flexibility so Val, the committee, and Kevin can figure out the best thing. It's their bailiwick. It's not ours.
Right, right. And we're just happy that we have the designation. So
Well
I'm
said.
going to move to approve the installation of Tree City USA signs as requested and give the Tree Preservation Committee authorization to pick two of the three locations that they have designated and also to approve the installation of the signs that we were provided unless those signs are a safety hazard and we make the determination that we need smaller ones. That was a mouthful, but
Second, accept the mouthful part.
okay. All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
All right, so there you
Thank
go,
you.
Val.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
thank you. I look
Yeah.
forward to seeing the
Yes,
signs.
so do I.
Okay.
Have a wonderful holiday, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thanks.
You too.
All right, sorry about that mouth. All right, now I'm going to try go to 1.4. All right, so here I am. So item 1.4 is regarding the newly established Sustainability Committee, right? And this is a discussion and vote for a waiver of registered voter requirement for candidate appointments. So we're at the point where the committee has been established and we have identified committee members, and there is a request for us to vote on a waiver for a member or a citizen of Dover who is not a registered voter because they are not a citizen per se,
Of the US.
but would like to participate in the committee. And Anna Nagy is requesting that we appoint two unregistered residents to the Sustainability Committee. Jean, I'm going to butcher this last name. Lucinda,
And I believe that's right.
right, who is already on the planning board, and we have voted this this designation. Am I getting that right or not?
So she's not on the planning board. So it's a little, you have three motions that are a little confusing. So
Okay.
the Sustainability Committee has, I believe it's 9 members. The selectmen are appointing 2 at-large members. And then there's a number of boards and committees that appoint their own representatives. So the planning board is looking to appoint Jean Lukenda as their representative to the Sustainability Committee. I believe she's currently serving on the Tree Preservation Committee.
Okay,
So
but we
your
don't
vote
need a
tonight.
waiver for her.
No, we do. So that's where it gets confusing. So you waived her already for the Tree Preservation Committee. We're asking you to waive tonight for her appointment to the Sustainability Committee, but you don't have to appoint her because she's being appointed by the Planning Board. I know that's very confusing, but all she needs is a waiver. And then the at-large appointment that Anne is recommending is Paul Venton. So he would need both a waiver and an appointment by you this evening. And then lastly, we would need a motion as the committee has a Board of Selectmen liaison. So for you and Dave to discuss who might serve in that role and to appoint one of you to that committee as well. I hope that makes sense.
All right. So Dave, 1 and 2, I don't have an issue with providing the waiver.
Well, not only that, but we already provided it because it was done by, I can't remember the national body, but you remember last time we provided the waiver? There was a national organization that had already provided it. And I'm like, if whatever that is given it, then who are we to say no?
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Vaguely,
If-
but
well,
I'm in a different time zone. Still. And then the only other thing is which one of us is going to be appointed as the liaison to the sustainability committee.
Rock, paper, scissors, let's go.
Okay.
It's going to be short term, but you know it's up to you. I mean, literally use your chair to, if you want it, take it. If you don't want it, then it's mine.
It would be very helpful to me not to have it. So if you wouldn't mind taking it.
Yep. My only issue is at this point, we have so many committee meetings that
Right.
they have to understand that on a short-term basis, we may miss some,
Right.
and I'm sure they will.
And I'm happy to shadow you. So if you can't make it and I can, I would be happy to attend the meetings.
Great, thanks. I think that's the just on the way to go. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, then
All right.
I have no troubles with 1 and or now 1, 2, and 3. So, if you
Okay.
the
So,
motions, let's go.
right. Should I make the motion, then vote on it, then make the second motion, or can I make all 3 motions and vote on them?
If you don't mind, I know it's a pain, but I would do them separately.
Okay, all right. So I move to approve voting the Dover Code registered voter requirement for Jean Lukenda for appointment to the Sustainability Committee by the Planning Board.
Second.
All in favor, I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
I move to approve waiving the Dover Code registered voter requirement for Paul Venton and move to approve Paul Venton as an at-large member to the Sustainability Committee for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2027.
Yes, it's appoint Paul Venton, but then I'll second it.
What did I say?
It was like approve.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a point.
All right. I can't even read now. All right. All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
Okay, this one I won't mess up. I move to appoint David Havlin as the Board of Selectmen liaison to the Sustainability Committee for a 1-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
So if I don't second it, I don't get it. No.
And I will also put in the motion that in the event Dave cannot attend a meeting and I can, I will attend that meeting.
Well, that's what we're doing on everything else right now. So,
Right.
All right. I second, all kidding aside.
All in favor, I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
And thank you, everyone, for volunteering for these positions. And thank you, Dave. All right, the next item is item 1.5. And this is to issue a proclamation 2 in one night to Elfrida Markanowski, Dover's oldest resident at 101 years old. Quite the achievement. In 1909, should I read all this?
I think it's neat. For the
Yeah, it's
public record,
interesting,
it's
yeah.
cool.
Right. So in 1909, under the ownership of Edwin Grozier, the Boston Post engaged in its most famous publicity stunt. Oh, maybe this is a way for us to get people to do things. We have to come up with our own publicity stunt. The paper had 700 ornate ebony shafted gold capped canes made and contacted the selectmen in Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island towns. The Boston Post canes were given to the selectmen with a request that the canes be presented in a ceremony to the town's oldest living man. The custom was expanded to include a community's oldest woman in 1930. Dover's cane went missing shortly after it was given to the original recipient, Asa Talbot. 100 years later, the cane surfaced in an antique shop. In 2011, the cane found a permanent home in the Dover Library, where it is displayed in a case along with a plaque memorializing its honorees. The display case was built by students at the Minuteman High School. This is so appropriate. This whole
It really
agenda is
is.
pulling together. Michael Blanchard is working with the Council on Aging to arrange a ceremony where a proclamation will formally be presented to Ms. Markanowski and a photo can be taken with Dover's cane. So we're not letting that cane out of our sight again.
That's
in
right.
the event.
Most communities have stopped actually giving the cane out because so many have actually lost it for good. And so, yes, it'll continue to be stored at the library. We will add her name to the plaque, and we will temporarily take the cane to get a photo, but it will permanently stay at the library. Yes.
So it's a photo wall.
It is
You
a photo.
stand
Op,
with the cane.
yes.
So today I have the honor of reading two proclamations. One, which we did earlier today, and the second one to our oldest resident. And I hope someday I will too be the recipient of the cane. So today it is an honor to present the Boston Post cane to the oldest and longest living resident of Dover and resident in the town of Dover. On August 2nd, 1909, Edward Atkins Grazier, publisher of the Boston Post newspaper, forwarded to the Board of Selectmen in 700 towns in New England a gold-headed ebony cane with the request that it be presented with the compliments of the Boston Post to the oldest citizen of the town. This initiative was known as the Boston Post cane. It is with great pleasure that we continue this tradition and present Dover's original Boston Post cane to Elfrida Markanowski, given our hands and seal on this 19th day of December, 2024. So I will make a motion to approve this proclamation.
I will second it with congratulations to Elfrida.
Right. I will second, all in favor, I, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
And I too extend congratulations to Elfrida. Is this her birthday? Is her birthday around now? Because then we could
I
wish her
believe it
happy
was in
birthday as
I
well.
believe it was in October, if I'm
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
So we
And
look,
just to appreciate, this actually came to our attention that the cane had not been awarded the last few years by Walter Nowicki, who's actually a neighbor of the recipient, happens to also be a lieutenant with our fire department. So we appreciate his advocating for this and got this going again. So it's kind of it's a pretty neat thing to do. So we appreciate it.
right.
But Robert,
I
you
think
get
it's
to
a
read two
wonderful
good
thing.
ones tonight.
Right, right. So do we keep copies of the pictures of the residents with the canes?
I
'Cause I
don't
was
know.
thinking
We
that
certainly can
could be-
start.
Right, because that would be a great collage. You could do something like, well, in the community center, we could have a wall,
There
Oh,
you
that's
go.
a great idea.
I
right?
like that.
And then maybe then each year we'll say, do we have an oldest resident that we need to?
Yep, I like that.
All right, so we're going to move away from the fun stuff. And the next item of business here, and I'm going to need help, is just to have a discussion regarding the Board of Selectmen's process and the options for filling the open seat on the board, along with the timeline. So just as a reminder, our fellow Board of Selectmen, John Jeffries, resigned earlier, I think it was last month. And his resignation, right? He resigned in October?
I think it was October 31st, maybe. Yeah.
Right, right. And so there is a vacancy that currently exists on the Board of Selectmen. That's why only Dave Havlin and myself are attending meetings. So under Mass General Law, the Board of Selectmen have two options regarding the vacancy. First, we could call a special election or wait until the annual election, which will be in May to fill the vacancy. In either case, the town residents would vote for the new selectman. If we do not call, meaning Dave and I do not call for a special election on our own, Mass General Law requires that a resident of the town can call for a special election with a written petition of 200 registered voters unless there are less than 100 days to the annual town election. And so we're in a position where there are more than 100 days to the annual town election. In the past, I think we have always called for a special town election, although I'm not sure of that.
I don't have the history. I know in recent memory, or my understanding is yes, but I could try to go back with Felicia and get you
Okay.
some history on that long term.
But this evening, we're just going to discuss the pros and cons of both. So, this resignation was somewhat unexpected, and we so far have not received any inquiries regarding the open position. I personally have talked to a number of residents who were somewhat interested but wanted to learn more about the process. All three individuals that I talked to did ask why we were, what the process was, and they were surprised to learn that there would be a special meeting, a special election for which they would run, and then they would need to run again in the regular annual town meeting. election. So, you know, at this point, I really am not sure what the right thing to do is. There is nobody who has expressed
Interest.
interest. There are people that have expressed interest in learning more about the position and what it takes. We also have a lot of things going on. So a part of me thinks it may just be easier for, if you don't mind, Dave, for the two of us just to run out this term and that and see if there's more interest or if we can solicit more interest in somebody running for the open position.
Well, we can also change our minds if
Right.
someone comes forth and is willing to run twice, then by all means, let's have an election. But right now, it also, given the holidays and everything that's going on, calendar wise, it's didn't help. And there are requirements of holding an election. Are we going to have a caucus? Are we not going to have a caucus? Because once you schedule a caucus, you must hold it. And I learned this and totally understand some people's skittishness, because when I ran for Bob's open seat, 6 days later, I had to go to caucus and run again. So I say that with a big smile on my face. I was willing to do it, but some people just don't want to run twice in a row.
Right, and given you were very familiar with the town and the proceedings, and now, you know, the inquiries have come from residents of Dover who have lived here for many years, who find themselves close to retirement and want to give back to the town, but they're not at all familiar with the workings of the town. And so they want to learn more.
And this would give them some time to do that.
Right.
I was kind of hoping we would see more people on the participant list tonight, but they're all known to us. Um, I'm betwixt and between. I have literally no opinion. If the best way to do this is to run with the two of us, I'm perfectly happy doing that. If there is any interest in holding an election, I'm perfectly happy doing that.
Right. So given that it's the holiday season, I mean, maybe what we should do is try and do an outreach and remind people that there is an open selectman position, and maybe they could reach out to one of us, Dave, if they're interested to learn more about it, to learn about the process, and then we can revisit this again early next year.
So there's a blurb we get to give you, Chris. We finally have
Yeah.
some input from the Board of Selectmen. So,
You know,
but
we can have that sign, wanted.
exactly. So we're gonna have to tell Val that we're gonna need her two signs for a slightly different purpose for about a week. So no, it is a very serious issue, but we don't have a good answer right now. We're literally in that we can go either way zone. And so until there's interest, in immediately upon interest, if we're still outside that 100 days, I would say let's just go ahead and hold a special. But until
I
then,
agree.
I just,
You know, and maybe there's no interest just because of the timing of the resignation. You know, it was Halloween, and then before you knew it,
Thanksgiving,
it's
now the
Thanksgiving, and
holidays,
now
yeah.
here. So I think we should make an effort to let citizens know that there is an opening, encourage people to reach out to either you or I. You know, our email addresses are on the website. They could also reach out to Mike or somebody in the townhouse to connect with us, and we could talk about the open position with them and the the time commitment, because that is also one of the first questions that gets asked is how big of a time commitment is it?
Well, it's more if there's two of us. It gets better with three.
Right. And for that and that alone, I would love to have a third person. But again, we need to do what is best for the town.
Well, having an election that no one runs for has another risk, and that is there could be a write-in candidate with 2 votes, and they would literally become selectmen, even though this happened to someone else on a much lesser position before, where the person was actually elected and had to resign because they didn't run, but others put them up to it and did write-ins. So, and that would be one of my concerns, is that we don't want to have someone get elected with just a write-in or two.
Right. So I say the plan is let's try and promote the vacancy in the new year, see if we get individuals or citizens that are interested, and then revisit this in January.
That makes sense.
At the end of January, right?
Mike, how's that sound from your end?
Yep, that's great. And as Robin said, certainly reaching out to you makes a lot of sense. But if anybody wants to ever come in and meet with us, we're happy to talk with them, whether it's for a special or somebody considering in May.
Perfect. Well, then I guess that's what we do then. I don't think you need a motion, because we're just gonna run as is until we get interest, and then we can immediately talk to Felicia about scheduling a special election if we get interest.
Agreed. So let's move along to item 1.7, and this is the annual town meeting warrant articles. Is that already that time?
It is. So the warrant is still open. It doesn't close till I think January 10th. But we're already working on some warrant articles. The planning board has advised of a number that they're considering. But there's still time to receive a minimum placeholders or actual formalized warrant articles. So I just wanted to just really briefly touch on kind of what we expect at this point, and I know there'll be more. But one is we are looking at some changes to some of our revolving funds. One is just kind of administrative, looking to combine. The building department has, I think, 3 or 4 different, they're all for inspections, just different types like wiring, electrical, plumbing. So there was some sense just to make things a little easier, combining into kind of a one general inspection revolving fund. The Board of Health, the same is true for them. They have a number of different inspection revolving funds and also amounts that they really don't need anymore, because they were amounts that were set prior to bringing on a full-time health director who does that work now. So there may be some need to keep some monies for consulting, or when the health director is not in the office, but certainly no need to keep all of them at the amounts they are. And as you may know, the Board of Health is bringing on a new public health nurse next year.
That's a shared position, right?
Yes, yep, with Sherborne, I believe, starting in February. And there'll be an opportunity to offer vaccinations. And there's, with that, the ability to charge insurance companies and to receive reimbursement both for vaccines and for the nurse services. So looking at a new revolving fund so that those fees from insurances can be put into the revolving fund to therefore go forward and purchase more vaccine or more nursing supplies. We are looking at something called adopting the prudent investor rule, and Dave brought this forward. Basically, there's what's called like a legal list of investments that are allowed under Mass General Law to invest our trust funds, and this would allow the town to expand beyond that. Again, still being prudent and responsible, but give us a little more options in terms of investments and hopefully better returns. And then the planning board had put forward 6 potential warrant articles that might be coming forward. I actually didn't print up the whole list. I just had the headline, but one's involving accepting a number of easements that had been gifted to the town but were never formally accepted. Some changes to our accessory dwelling unit bylaw as it contradicts some state law. So in order to be in compliance, we need to update that. Some changes to timelines on site plan reviews, some changes related to new FEMA flood maps, potentially some tree preservation related bylaws, and then looking at some miscellaneous revisions and updates to definitions and things like that to help clarify things for residents and our staff in terms of what the bylaw means and how to appropriately enforce them. So that's what we have. I believe that's everything we have right now. But as I said, it's early, so I do expect some more to come in.
Mike, in terms of your staffing, does it make sense at least to put a placeholder in there for just townhouse staff right now?
So that goes in the budget, right?
Yeah. So thank you. So I agree with you, and I think we'll look forward to doing that. What we're really trying to highlight here is kind of the non-standard items, right? So we know we're going to have the budgets, the capital, some of the other standard warrant articles. So yes, that would be part of the budget. This is really what we're trying to do is call out some of the unique items that aren't always standard warrant articles. So some of the zoning changes or new revolving things like that. But yes, to your point, we will look to address that through the budgeting operating article.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure it gets in there before the 10th.
Yeah.
And then one update, I did speak with Carol, was it yesterday or the day before? They're probably not going to do the tree preservation article, given everything that's on their plate, including MBTA and just
yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on.
Exactly. They have so much going on. It's crazy. And so instead of overwhelming people and getting them frustrated, just most of what they have is literally perfunctory nits. Like the ADU, well, we passed it under current law at the time, and then the state went and changed a couple of items, and now we've got to conform with that. I mean, they should be quick. So let's hope. But so if there's nothing else, then Mike, then I think we're in good shape here. Any word from? Are there any citizen petitions so far?
We've not received anything to date.
Okay.
There's still 3 weeks.
Yeah. No, I just was curious.
Right.
Good. Well, then
We're moved on to item 1.8, which is an update on goals and priorities.
So I don't have a lot since our last meeting. I think we talked a little about Chris is continuing to finalize the aggregation RFP for our consultant to help us through that process, which will be great. And again, as a reminder, there's no cost to us for that. The cost is borne as part of the process and through the electrical company. So we think that'll be terrific. A number of communities have taken advantage of this, and we think it could be a real win for Dover residents. We're continuing to work through our hiring process, particularly with our treasurer collector office. I don't have any sort of formal update tonight, but just know we're really working hard and continuing through that process, and appreciate Dave's assistance as your liaison to that process. And then I don't know if Dave wants to just mention, we talked last time he was going to be hosting his office hours. He has now since hosted. So.
I'm dying to know. How many people did you have?
3 people showed up.
Excellent.
We had 3 very nice conversations. A couple of small action items, which I believe have been completed. But it's great to offer them. And ironically, one of the requests was to have our meetings in person. And I was like, okay, and explained as respectfully as I could about how many meetings we actually have to go to. A lot of people think it's just the selectmen's meetings, and don't realize the liaison time commitments as well. And 15, 20 minutes at the beginning of a meeting, driving to, and then welcoming, getting settled. Same thing on the reverse end. Do that times 5 meetings a week, and it's significant time. That having been said, if there's ever a point in time where we could hold one, or maybe, I don't know, the first one of the month, or a couple a quarter that are in person, and then we'll see if people show up. It's the same thing. It's an idea, and people say, oh, well, we want to go, but if we hold meetings and no one shows up, then we can go back to Zoom all the time. So it's probably more than you wanted, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
No, that's perfect.
the issue
And
with
then-
the in-person meetings is then we then get complaints by people that they couldn't hear, and why was the meeting in person, and they prefer Zoom because they can go back and watch it, whenever. So,
It is one of those catch-22 type issues
Right.
where we're damned if we do and we're damned if we
Right.
don't. But certainly, until we come up to full speed and in terms of the board, I think the convenience of Zoom outweighs the quote public access, especially now that we're having selectmen's hours. And I reminded the person that even if you go to a meeting in person, you wish to speak at citizens' comments, you get 2 minutes, but unless it's on the agenda, we can't even comment.
right.
So there's not a whole lot of communication or beneficial communication going on that way. So in any event, we're having selectmen's hours, and hopefully, Robin, you get more than 3, right?
Right.
Yeah, Robin, you're up next, so we'll have to chat, you, me, and Chris, about a date so we can include it in the newsletter, whatever works and convenience for you.
Okay. All right.
And if
I
January
don't think
gets
I'm
slammed,
traveling for January and February, so we could probably.
okay, then you can do it. I was just going to say, if you have a busy travel schedule, I'll do 2 in a row. I don't care.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. It was nice to be able to just listen and communicate and have a nice conversation.
Right.
All right. Are
Do
we
we
going
wanna-
on to us now? Are you all set, Mike?
That's
Yep, all set. Yep.
right. That's what I was going to ask. So,
Sorry.
do you want to finish your update, Dave? Because you
Yeah,
started
well,
with
I'm on
the
a roll,
selectmen
so-
hours.
Okay, we've done office hours, we've done the planning board. Capital budget, they are continuing to go through their process. The asks are way up. This is not news
They're
to anyone.
huge.
And
Right.
it's and to quote Barry, or paraphrase Barry, we seem to be at a new plateau, and that new plateau is significantly higher and is at least 5 years out. So that is going to be a very difficult part of working into the budget. No doesn't mean no, it's when, not no, but we just can't do all the requests at once. It's just too much, which leads into the warrant committee. We've had some great educational sessions from Barry doing capital budget to warrant, Dawn presenting the school budgets. And last night, Woody did a great, I'm going to say primer on Prop 2.5, because I was looking at the capital requests in our levy room going, well, wait a minute. There's not enough room to do all that capital. So
No, there isn't. I mean, and I think that's one of the comments we made last year. The idea was not to always give ourselves some wiggle room under the levy, and not to have an override. And if those are still the priorities, you just have to delay all the asks. you have to prioritize them.
Exactly, unless someone wants to do a Prop 2.5 override. And the other way to do it is, of course, we could bond. I mean, an idea that I've tossed out there, and I'm not saying it's a good idea by any stretch of the imagination, but if, let's say, there were $10 million of capital requests that are all 20-year items or greater, and the town needs to do them, then find an anchor issue. And once we go and have to bond that and have a debt exclusion, that would be one way to tack on some of these capital items and get them through without an actual Prop 2.5 override.
Right. But
It's-
there was also very little appetite for that. But again, if we have to have this, then
I think it's going to come down to putting it to the voters. Like, if you want fire trucks and plow trucks and library HVAC and schools and what have you, then we have a decision to make. And let's see how the budget comes in first before we get alarmist. But it's just worth noting that there are a lot of capital requests, and if we were to grant them all, we would need a Prop 2.5 override.
and that's what we had said last year. We said we're gonna have to prioritize.
Yes. So lots of work to come there. Onto the building committee. That the date that we were shown earlier is probably already been bumped to late February for constructive completion, and then May or later for the final acceptance, because we need all the final outdoor work to get done, landscaping, the final paving, the fences. And there's some other work that just can't be done over the winter, or done well over the winter. So those are still the kind of rough estimates, but obviously subject to change. I think that's it. If I missed anyone, I forget. I apologize rather for forgetting.
No, that's okay. So one of the things that the Board of Selectmen owe Warrant Committee is a training on the budget and just to go over the budget. Again, we have a commitment that we're gonna aggregate all of the asks so that in January we know how much we're asking for so that we can begin to strategize to all the points you made. How do we want to present this to the town? Maybe we have some information sessions, but without an override or a debt exclusion, we can't do all this stuff. We just can't.
Yeah, we don't know what the operating is going to look like either. I mean, the operating may have a large increase as well. We just don't know yet.
Right.
So,
which is why the earlier you pull everything together, the better, because last year I think we were 12% over the year before. And, once we started to prioritize and look at things, we were able to find compromises within the ask so that we could reduce the budget.
and hopefully we can go through that exact same process this
Right.
year and
But
get
earlier.
those numbers down.
Right.
Right.
But
The idea was to start earlier.
yes, well, Robin, I'm going to throw you the solid here because you're moving this whole time schedule up. Everyone is appreciating. Capitals mentioned it, Warrants mentioned it. Everyone is very excited because they realize that time is very precious and you need
Right.
time to work these issues through.
Right, because before you know it, it's March.
Right.
And
Right.
you have the open hearing.
Right. Right.
So, so we don't have a lot of time, and we do have, the other thing, Mike, that we should talk to Chief Vinci and also the fire department, but we should set up that one combined meeting to go over the the dispatch regionalization so that everybody can understand, can look at the study, review it, understand the pros and cons and the costs associated with that. Because one of the capital asks goes away if the regionalization is
Right.
voted for.
Correct.
Right.
So, but that's another thing we should get the presentation together. I know Chief Vinci has been working on it, but that's a
Yes.
combined ask of all protective service agents, departments, so. The other thing we had was the housing partnership, the housing task force, I keep calling it. We met on Wednesday and we talked a little bit about the timing of the educational piece of the MBTA Communities Act. The planning board is putting together a timeline with key milestones along the way. We are targeting to have a special town meeting sometime in September, but prior to that meeting, we need to designate eligible sites and also educate the community on what they're voting for and what the ramifications are for not approving this and what the options would be to the town in the event it isn't approved. So, you know, that again is going to be a huge time sink for the planning board as well as, you know, the Board of Selectmen as we try to educate the town on the requirements and compliance with the MBTA Communities Act. So
On top of that, and I've discussed this with the planning board, it's the misinformation and the assumptions that when you do an overlay district, that the housing must be built. And it doesn't mean, and no town has to build one unit. You have to give the right to build with a higher density.
right. And you have to designate that the area where you would allow it. So
Correct.
you know, and that's why this education piece is so important. And not only that, you know, they still need to hire a consultant to help with it because it's very specific. You know, the good news is some of the larger towns have gone through it already, and we can learn from what worked and what didn't work for those towns and try and see what works with the town of Dover. But the most important thing is to educate the town and to get the information out there. And again, you know, it's the same old, trying to figure out how you get the information to people. And then, you know, Warrant is also trying, and I know you know this, are there ways to reach out to get citizens more engaged in town meeting?
Mhm.
And how you do that, you know, last year there was right before town meeting, there was in social media, there was a request for people to learn more. There were 15 people that were very enthusiastic, and we organized on very short notice an overview of town meeting, an educational session, and I think 2 people showed up. You know, and a lot of time and effort went into planning that.
Right.
So again, these are all the things where we struggle with. But that is my update. So Mike, do you have
Yep.
more you want to add?
So not a ton more. Again, you know, between executive session and this pretty lengthy agenda, that's
Right.
mostly what I've been working on. You know, we already talked about, I was going to mention going to Denise's event, which was great. And you mentioned the warrant committee meetings. And just to pencil it, it looks like we're targeting January 8th for kind of the budget 101 presentation. And then the following Wednesday, the 15th, to present our version 1 of the budget. The actual budget at that time.
That's going to be the scary night.
But yeah, otherwise that's all I had for tonight.
All right, so I will then, so that now we have the consent agenda, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the consent agenda consists of the following: to approve Tetra Tech comprehensive permit, it's 40B peer review proposal for 81 through 85 Tisdale Drive. Then to approve Davis Square Architects fee proposal for 81 through 85 Tisdale Drive 40B design peer review services. To approve acceptance of gifts of communication equipment to the fire department, and to vote noon closing on Christmas Eve, Tuesday, December the 24th, 2024. Very much deserved. Closing early.
Thank you. Very appreciative by town staff.
Yeah,
So thank you.
I mean, for me, and it sounds like for Nina as well, suddenly Christmas is here and I've done nothing. So
You do have
just
on the
before
calendar.
right.
Just before you vote, in case there's any questions from the public, just to note the related peer review items for the 40B proposals, that is not paid with town funds. That's paid from the developer and the fees the developer pays. So in case there's any questions, that's how that's funded.
Right, and it's related to the new 40B on behind the Tisdale townhomes that exist there today.
Right.
So I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
I keep waiting for a third, but there isn't a third. A
I
phantom.
can say Dave Haviland again if you want.
Right. So with that, I move, well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for everything that they've done in calendar year 2024. And I look forward to a very exciting 2025 and hope things get a little easier for us, because I would love to be able to do some of the improvements that we've been talking about that we just haven't had the time to really dig our teeth into and get things done. So thank you to everybody in the townhouse. So I don't know, Dave, if you want to
No, it's very well
add
said. I hope
anything to
everyone
that.
has a nice, relaxing, and rejuvenating holiday with family and friends. It certainly is well deserved. So
Right.
thanks to everybody who puts in their time for the town. It is very much appreciated.
I agree. And with that, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this meeting so people can get back to doing whatever they need to do for the holidays.
I will second this so Robin and I can go rap.
Right.
So,
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
hi, Dave Haviland.
For me, there's been so much talking tonight, I've run out of water. So I want to go and get a glass of water. I feel as I can't speak anymore.
I have a sleeve of Polar Seltzer right here.
And I feel like I need a little refrigerator here somewhere. So I have this is empty. I have a water bottle that's empty.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Have a good night, and
See you next year. Love saying that.
yeah, all right.
All right. Good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.